my most amazing artists, and welcome back to week 3 of our Matisse fish bowls. So far we have created the water for our fish bowls, and last time we did the fish scales. If you haven't done those already, then go back to weeks 1 and 2 and make sure you get those done. This week we are going to be creating the background for our fish bowls. Remember, the background in an artwork is everything in the back. And our fish bowl with our goldfish in it, they're going to be in the foreground. That's everything in the front. So we've been focusing a lot on Matisse and his earlier paintings, where he was really focused on the Fauvist movement using very bold brush strokes and bright colors. For our background, we're going to focus more on his later works, the works that he did whenever he became older and couldn't paint anymore. He would make these beautiful paper cutouts. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. So to make our paper cutout background, we're just going to need some colored construction paper. I have a bunch of different colors. The more colors you have, the better. And the brighter colors that you have, the better, because if you look at Matisse's paper cutouts, he used very bright, bold, happy colors. So that's what we are going to do. But if you don't have any of these same colors, then guys, you can use whatever color construction paper you have. Along with your colored construction paper, you're also going to need a pair of scissors and some glue. I'm super excited to make this paper cutout background with you guys, but before we get started, let's go ahead and say our class mantra all together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. My mantra: I am positive, I am creative, I am mindful, I am amazing, I am an artist. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is choose a colored piece of paper for your background. For mine, I would like my background to be this beautiful bright yellow, because remember, Matisse uses a lot of bright colors in his artwork, and I want my background to be as bright as possible. After you choose a background color for your collage, we are going to start cutting out shapes, and you can do this one of 2 ways, or you could try out both ways and see which one you like the best. The first way is you can go ahead and use a pencil and draw some shapes. And while we are creating our shapes, I want us to focus on organic shapes. Those are shapes that don't have a name. They're also not symmetrical. So if I drew an imaginary line down the center of this shape here, I would notice that this side is not the same as that side. If both sides are the same, that means that shape is geometric, and we are not going to be using many geometric shapes. We should really focus on organic shapes, because that's what Matisse mainly used in his artwork. You can draw out some shapes, some organic shapes. They're like natural, wavy, kind of random shapes. After you get done drawing your shapes, you can just take your scissors and start cutting them out. Of course, remembering our very good scissors safety, making sure that I'm being as safe as possible, making sure my scissors are cutting away from myself, and my scissors are just opening and closing with my right hand. My left hand, or otherwise known as my lazy hand, is going to hold my paper, rotate the paper, and tell my scissors where to cut. And I'm going pretty slow just to make sure I don't accidentally hurt myself or anyone around me. So that's one way that you can cut your shapes out. If you like to plan out your shapes, that's a great way. So just draw them with a pencil first and then cut them out. Or you don't even have to draw your shape first. You can just use your scissors and kind of draw some shapes with your scissors. So this one is a little bit more tricky because you never know how your shape is going to end up. This is actually how Matisse created his paper cutouts. He just started cutting. He didn't even draw beforehand, and he used these kind of leafy organic shapes. So that's what I'm going to try to go for. They're kind of curvy, wavy, random shapes that look kind of like a leaf. So this one I didn't even draw first. I just used my scissors and guessed where to cut, and that's how my shape ended up, and I kind of love it. Drawing with your scissors is really fun because you never really know how your shape is going to turn out. And you might come up with a shape that you don't really like that much. And this one I am not the biggest fan of. I love this one a lot more. So if you cut out a shape that you don't like, you don't have to use it in your artwork. The most important thing is that you're trying, and you're trying to come up with some new shapes that maybe no one has ever seen before. A really fun shape to do is a spiral shape, and for this one it's a little bit tricky to just cut out without drawing it beforehand. So I'm gonna draw mine first, and we're just gonna start with a spiral line. Come out with your spiral. We don't want it to be too big. That seems like a nice medium size. And then from this point where we ended, we're gonna do a curve, and we're gonna come back into the spiral. So it's like two spiral lines connected, like that. And this one is a little bit tricky to cut out, but as long as you take your time and you try your best, and maybe the first one doesn't come out how you like it, you could just keep on trying to get this spiral shape because it ends up looking really cool. So I'm just following my line that I made with my pencil all the way around, going very slow, taking my time. And like I said earlier, this shape is a little bit tricky to do. So if it's not working out and you're getting frustrated, I recommend just setting your work down, maybe taking a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Maybe do a couple of deep breaths and come back and try again, because I would like you to at least try to do a spiral, because I think you will really love how it turns out when it's done. So I'm still just following that line, being very careful. I'm making very tiny cuts because I don't want to accidentally cut too big, and then I'll cut my spiral in half. Going all the way around my spiral line. When you come to the end, you're just going to curve it around where we drew that pencil line and finish it off. And look at that. We have a really cool spiral, which is going to look awesome in our paper cutout collage. If the spiral is just too difficult and it's not working out for you, you don't have to do a spiral. I just thought it would be fun if we gave one a try. And it also looks really cool in our collage. However, you can just make up any other shapes that you want to. Once you finish cutting out your organic shapes, I don't think we really need more than 5, but you could do more. We just don't want to overcrowd our background with all these shapes, because remember, the star of the show is going to be our fishbowl. This is just the background. So we need to have at least 5 shapes back there. Some tiny ones, some bigger ones, in different colors if you're able to get different colored paper. And now I'm going to take a new color, and I'm just going to cut some strips from this paper. I'm just trying to fill up that background a little bit more, and I'm going to do that by cutting out some strips of paper, and I'm going to lay them horizontally across my paper like that. So I just want one of my strips towards the top and one towards the bottom. I'm going to choose another color, and I'm thinking I want to use some green. And I'm going to cut some longer strips so that they can lay vertically on my paper. When a line is vertical, that means they're going up and down. These red lines are horizontal because they are going from side to side. So in our background, we should have some vertical lines, lines that go from top to bottom, and some horizontal lines, lines that go from side to side. All right, so I have my vertical lines and my horizontal lines. You can really arrange these however you want to. Just play around with some different ways that you could put these together on your paper. And we want to glue our strips of paper, these vertical and horizontal lines, down first. And then we are going to start gluing our organic shapes on. So let's glue these strips of paper down first. And I am just going to glue this red one up here down first. And when I'm gluing, I'm going to be using this little cup of glue that has some dried glue on it. Ew, get that out of here. And a little glue brush. And while I'm gluing, I'm remembering that little rhyme, dot, dot, not a lot, because we do not need a lot of glue. We just need little dots all the way around the edge of our shapes. If you accidentally get too much glue, then we can remember the rhyme, drip, drip, wipe it on the lip, because when you get too much, your glue is going to start dripping down. You see that? Ew. We don't need that much glue, so if you have too much, drip, drip, wipe it on the lip of your little glue cup here. That's just the top edge. All right, so just continuing. Doing little dots all the way around the edge. Once I have my little dots, I'm just going to carefully pick it up. And I wanted this red strip to be towards the top of my paper. So I'm just going to put it towards the top and I'm going to press it down. All right, just make sure all those edges are glued down. I'm going to go ahead and finish gluing all my strips of paper down, and then I'll be right back to show you how I'm going to glue my organic shapes down. So I finished gluing my strips of paper down, and I just want to double check that all of these pieces are glued down nice and securely before I glue on my other shapes. And I'm just going to flip it over and do the wiggle test, wiggle it just a little bit. And if nothing falls off, then we are good to go. Now we get to glue on our organic shapes. And this is really fun because you get to arrange it and see where do you want these shapes to be. And like I said earlier, you don't have to use every single shape that you cut out, just your most favorite ones. All right, and I'm just gonna glue down 5 shapes, and I'm happy with how they're arranged on my paper. Whenever we arrange something like shapes or colors or lines on an artwork, that is called creating the composition of your artwork. We don't want to just randomly glue our shapes down without thinking where we want them first. So before you glue them, play around with different compositions of where you want your shapes. Now, I don't really like this spiral shape down here because there's a purple color behind it that's the same as the spiral shape. You can't really see it that well. So I am making sure that my shapes are not blending in with the strips of paper that I've already glued down. Our fish bowls are going to go right in the center of our artwork, so I'm going to leave that open because there's no point in gluing any organic shapes down right there, because then we're just going to cover it up with our fish bowl. So we're really just focusing on the top portion, maybe the sides. We can glue some shapes on the sides and the bottom, but let's leave the middle open and save room for our fish bowls. I'm very happy with this composition, so I am just going to go ahead and start gluing my shapes down using our same dot dot not a lot technique. Go all the way around the edges with little dots and then glue it down. I'm going to go ahead and do this to all of my shapes, and I'll be right back to show you the very last step. Once you finish gluing down all of your beautiful organic shapes, we are of course going to do the wiggle test just to make sure everything is glued down securely. So flip it over, wiggle it a little bit, and no pieces have fallen off, so I am good to go. If a piece does fall off, that just means we need a little bit more glue. There's just one more step that we have to do before next week, and that is create the table that our fishbowl is going to be sitting on. And for that, I want to use a darker color, so I'm just going to use a black color. And we're going to cut out a big oval shape. And you can eyeball it, or you can draw it first, whatever you want to do. And I am just going to draw a big-ish oval shape. We don't want it to be too giant to where it covers up all of our beautiful shapes that we just glued down. But I think that will be a good size. Can you see it? Yes, you can see that oval shape. And I just wanted to draw it because it's going to make it easier to see. And then I'm going to cut it out. My oval is now cut out, and we can see that an oval is actually geometric because one, it has a name, it's called an oval, and also if I drew an imaginary line down the center, I would see that this side is the same as that side, so that makes it geometric. Now we just need to position or figure out where we want our table to go. I know that next week we are going to glue our fishbowl onto this background, so I want to bring my oval down just a little bit towards the bottom so I have enough room for my fishbowl. And once I have the position of the table, I am just going to flip it over and do my little dots all the way around the edge, and I'm going to glue it down. There is our background done for our Henri Matisse fish bowls. And next week I'm super duper excited because we actually get to create the fish bowl and put our little fishies in the fish bowl, and it's going to be so much fun. Can't wait to see how your paper cutout backgrounds turn out. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.